Today's episode is brought to you by Henshaw Trailer Sales of Richland, Iowa, the Packwood Locker, and Smithburg Auto of Fairfield, Iowa. We've got Coach Cody Van Fleet, who is going to wrap up the year for us as Notre Dame, our last team, finally lost in the semifinals at the state tournament. Welcome program, Coach.
Hey, thanks for having me back on, buddy.
Well, unfortunately, this looks like the end of the road for us here for the season, but you can catch our listeners up a little bit as to what happened in the game there.
Yeah, so yesterday on Thursday, Notre Dame took on St. Edmonds, who was the number one ranked team in the state, and came into the matchup, I thought, with a good chance of winning. DC Moore, which keeps track of all the data, had a prediction of St. Edmonds by 0.82 points, so less than a point difference in the prediction. So teams matched up well. Hunter Horn, 6'5", big man, versus Shea Stevens, 6'4" guard that could guard him. And I really thought those two would match up well. And first half they did. Both teams, it was a heavyweight fight. Notre Dame had the lead, then St. Edmonds came back, was up 3 at the half. St. Edmonds was. Shea Stevens got off to a slow start. They're talking to Coach Dorfer for St. Edmonds. Their game plan going into this game was to try to keep Shea out of the paint and really force him to try to score from the perimeter. And their offensive strategy was to try to get middle drives to the basket. And, both teams were kind of feeling each other out first, second quarter. Notre Dame, like I said, down 3, goes into the third quarter. It's a 5-point game, St. Edmonds. And there's stretches in games that coaches look back on that were like, man, I wish I could have that 45 seconds back. And unfortunately for Notre Dame, it was the stretch from the 5-minute, 37-second mark in the third quarter to the 4:55 mark. And in that 42 seconds, we had an offensive foul by L.J. Harris at the 4:37 mark. Then they come back down about, 15 seconds later, and they called an offensive foul on Payne Protzman they said it was an illegal block, that he was moving his feet, which kind of was. I don't know. I thought it was questionable. Then they go down 8 seconds later at the 4:55 mark, and St. Edmonds is driving. Protzman goes up to block the shot, and it was one of the weakest block calls that I'd seen in the tournament all week. I mean, it was absolutely weak, to put it better. And it was the same official that made all 3 calls. So I don't know what happened in that span leading up to it, but they're trying to get Payne out. He got his third foul, then his fourth foul. They're bringing him over to the side to get him out. Payne is walking over. You can't sub until the first free throw is shot, so they're making him stand there. I couldn't see what happened. I couldn't see it on the replay. From what I was told, he slapped the floor while he was waiting to go out. And the same official that called the foul on L.J. Harris, the first offensive foul on Payne, and then the blocking foul on Payne, is kind of like following him over, it looked like, from half court, and he calls a technical on Payne Protzman. And so with 4 minutes and 55 seconds left in the third quarter, Payne Protzman's season is over. Basketball career's maybe over. I don't know what he's going to do next year, but you just saw the wind go out of the sails, and I felt so bad for him because I thought those 2 calls were very questionable, and I understood his frustration. Dan Key's obviously just as frustrated. You just shouldn't see that in a game with, state titles on the line, especially from the exact same guy. I mean, he was calling them from all over, all ends of the floor. So again, don't know what happened, don't know the situation, disagreed with the calls. Obviously, I had my dog in the fight, but totally disagreed with it. And it was just, you don't make that. You don't foul a kid out with 4:55 unless he's just blatantly doing stuff. So terrible ending for Payne. It just felt terrible for him. But from there, it went from a 5-point deficit to a 10-point deficit. They get the ball back. Hunter Horn scores another basket to kick it to 12. And then from there, it was a 12 to 17 point game the rest of the way out. So Final score 74-55. Notre Dame ends their season 25-3. Absolutely historic run for Dan Keys and his program. You know, St. Edmonds now on Friday will take on Marquette, which that's the other part of this heartbreaking story is, if Notre Dame could have gotten past them, they played Marquette, who they saw back on January 10th, and beat Marquette 85-71, beat them by 14, and honestly, it wasn't that close of a game. So, we talked about this earlier in the week, Dave, where I hated that we got on St. Edmund's side of the bracket because I felt like, they should have been the 3 seed instead of the 4. But, that's unfortunate the way it goes. And credit to St. Edmunds. This is their 15th state tournament appearance. This is the 11th appearance for Coach Kotschendorfer, who this is going to be his last season. He's retiring at the end of the year. This will be his 6th time in the state tournament game and in the championship game. He won the title back in 2000. This will, he's had 4 runner-ups. This will be his 6th time in the state championship game. And I think at the end of the day, Dave, that's a big part of this. You see these teams, and I ran into this, unfortunately, 2 years ago with my Falcons when we played Trainer. I had never been in that state tournament. I had never been up there with a team. Trainer came in with all this experience and all this wealth of knowledge. And I think that Trainer or St. Edmunds came in there they knew it was just comfortable for them. And they had a plan and they executed it. And I thought, Notre Dame did a great job, but unfortunately the third quarter just kind of overwhelmed them. And I thought Notre Dame had a good game plan. They didn't, St. Edmunds 0 for 9 from the 3. Offensive rebounds, we talked about that on Tuesday, being a factor in this game. They got a lot of offensive rebounds again yesterday, St. Edmunds did. The biggest stat of the game, if I'm looking at it, was obviously fouls and free throws. Notre Dame was assessed 27 fouls versus only 14 for St. Edmunds. And what that almost 2-to-1 foul differential led to was Notre Dame went 11 of 13 from the free throw line. St. Edmunds 26 for 38. They shot almost 3 times as many free throws as Notre Dame, and they made twice as many free throws as Notre Dame shot. And in a close game, that's just way too big of a hurdle for Coach Keys and those guys to overcome. But great run. Obviously, we'll hear the all-state voting, I believe, took place this morning. So we'll hear how, Shea and maybe some other guys ended up if they were able to get all-state votes. But at the end of the day, Shea Stevens, went 5 of 19 from the field, ended up having, probably, tough game for him, 18 points. Griffin Keys, 12 points. LJ Harris, 8 points. Eli Olson ended up with 4. Again, Protzman, 3 points, 2 rebounds. Tatum Warner, 5 points. But just not as much. Kellen Porter with 5, just not as much. All of them. It wasn't just, you can't say it wasn't just Shea. You can't say it was, the supporting cast. I think everybody just had a rough night. And credit St. Edmunds. Hunter Horn ended up with 27 points, 11 rebounds. Just an all-around really, really good game. He impressed me. Jack McElroy had 7. Koopman had 10 points, 10 rebounds. If you look at St. Edmund, 27 points, 17 points, 13 points, 10 points. 4 of their 5 starters had double figures, and the one guy that didn't had 7 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists. So everybody contributed on their side to bring something, and just a good team effort by them. But again, 25-3 season for Notre Dame. Absolutely nothing to be sad about. But this is the worst day to be as a coach when your season ends and you're so close to the finish line, and haven't had a chance to talk to Coach Keys yet or anybody on the staff, but just really heart goes out to him and those kids and their families. But what an amazing run. I mean, they'll look back on this for the rest of their lives and just be proud of what they did. And as somebody who's followed that program now for the last 15 years, I know that how proud I am of what they've done. And the future is bright. They got a lot of great guys coming up. This is a team that could potentially do it again. Obviously, so they're going to lose some great seniors in Shea and Eli Olson and Payne Protzman, but they're also they've got a great supporting cast of guys that can fill those roles next year.
Well,
So yeah,
it's been a long and winding road. Certainly couldn't be more proud of Notre Dame. Maybe their worst day is today, but every other coach's worst day was a month ago or 2 weeks ago, or you just we had a lot of great teams, but we didn't have but a couple teams I didn't think from the beginning of the year that really had a shot to go to state. And the one that we thought was the best is the one that went the furthest. I guess Scotty Melvin had it pegged pretty good at the beginning of the year there, but I don't, I got nothing but pride and congratulations, and I'm really proud of Notre Dame. They always have great teams, and they do real well in pretty much all sports and everything. But they sure had a special year. You got to have special players to get that far, and they had some special players this year. But we finally come to the end there. Coach, is there anything, a year end message or anybody that we didn't get to talk about for the year that you wanted to say anything about?
I think as a whole, I just think it's been a great year for Southeastern Iowa. We've seen some great players from obviously Shea to Jackson Clark. We've seen some great breakout players, some great new young talent that is coming up with Porter and Rager and down at Holy Trinity. I mean, there's some great young freshmen that are coming up, some great underclassmen. We've seen some great seniors. I mean, the entire Meepo starting five of those seniors have just had a great career in multiple sports. And so it's been real fun watching them, and it's obviously to make it to state and win a game. It was cool to see so many people come up there. In the last 4 years, we've now seen Burlington, West Burlington, and Notre Dame. So we've had three high school teams all from the same town make it to the state tournament, which I think is really, really a cool accomplishment. But at the end of the day, somebody's got to lose, and it sucks because everybody wanted to see Notre Dame make it to the day and have a second game against Marquette, a team that they beat 70-74 or 85-71 the first time they played them back on January 10th. So that would have been cool. But unfortunately, they ran into a tough team, and they had a tough night shooting, and it just, it led to where we are today. But nothing to, they made it farther than, all but four other teams in the state of Iowa. So you got to hang your hat on that, and just proud of everybody, proud of the year they had. And it sure was fun watching all these teams in Southeast Iowa, both boys and girls, Meepo girls. Congrats to them on a great state run. And now it's up to the younger generation to get back into the weight room, get back into open gyms, get some shots up, and get ready for baseball or track or soccer or golf or whatever they got going on. But get ready for the next season.
All right. Well, I got some one announcement here. Just keep repeating this. We'll be all YouTube by the baseball season moving forward. Everything will be on YouTube. I don't know how much of the podcast is going to continue or not, but make sure you go to Round Guy Radio Live YouTube channel and subscribe to that, and then you'll be able to see all the games that we will have on. The only thing we've got in the spring is the Cedar Rapids Titans Arena Football. We still have 4 more games of that. A week from today, we'll have a game in Cedar Rapids as the Wyoming Cavalry takes on the Cedar Rapids Titans in the Alliant Energy Center there. And it's going to be 80s night, which will be familiar to me because I definitely remember the 80s. And that was before the 3-point line, my friend. Basketball was a lot different back then, but we'll be seeing you. I don't know. I might do a couple interviews with Andy Krutzinger or AJ Johnson or something about the spring sports, but I don't have any plans to bring you any of it myself. We just don't have any interest in it as far as the listeners go. But thanks everybody for everything they did, and thank you, Coach Cody Van Fleet, there for helping us with the basketball season, and Jeff Mills and Scotty Melvin and the aforementioned other guys we talked about help us get through the season. I thought we did a great job of giving it to you, and we'll be back during the baseball season for you, starting around May 10th or somewhere in that variety. Thanks for taking the time to fresh us up on this game, and congratulations to the Notre Dame Knights on making it further than anybody else did.
Yep. Well, it's a tough one, but yep. Congrats to them, and thanks for everything this year, buddy.
All right. Well, we'll see you guys during the baseball season, unless you're going to watch some of the Titans games. We're out.